flags upstairs here in my office, so we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, or we can just stay in place and do it, or open for suggestions.
If I stand, you're just going to see my stomach.
Okay. We'll all stay the way we are. I think this was a pants meeting, but well, maybe not. Okay.
Hands? No.
All right. Since we do not have the flags, I feel a little funny pledging the allegiance to the flags without them here with us. Maybe John went to go grab one. I don't know. Do you have a flag, John? No. Oh, I have a Maryland flag up here, but no. But let's go ahead and reply anyway. So let's just give the Pledge of Allegiance without a flag, just so we're covered. All right. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible. Thank you. All right, moment of silence. I think everybody's heard by now that Al Bierhoff passed away last week. So we do want to keep Penny and her family, her 5 boys, in our thoughts and prayers. Is there anyone else that we should?
The father of Sandra Mattis, who lives over on Manakee Drive, passed away just a couple days ago.
Okay. Probably think about the residents at Kensington Park Senior Living Facility. They're having some issues over there, and some residents are in the hospital or they're being treated for the virus. So let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers as well. Anybody else?
Celine Tracy from the Kensington House.
Okay.
Dr. Cindy Tracy's mother.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, if we can just back for a minute. Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the minutes. Everybody received them from Susan. These are the minutes from the March 9th meeting. Anybody have any changes? No? Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes from the March 9th, 2020 Town Council meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
aye,
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Okay. As soon as we go down, do you want to acknowledge that the mayor and council held a test meeting for the Zoom video conferencing system on April 14th at 3 o'clock till about 3:15, so we could practice being on Zoom together. So just wanted to acknowledge that meeting. And then we'll move on to number 2, the town municipal election. Discuss the town options for the June 1st town election. As some of you, I know the council knows, but the governor did provide an opportunity for municipalities to change the date of their elections if necessary. Some municipalities do have them in May. Ours is June 1st, so we have time. So I will open up the discussion to the council.
So what about vote by mail?
Okay. I did talk to, I mean, right now we do have absentee ballots, which are just requested. So I guess the only difference is requesting versus mailing out to the entire population. That would be the difference in that. When I talked to Sue Ellen, she said she had one municipality that is rescheduling theirs. They had one that didn't want to do ballots by mail. They were concerned about, people,
The
using
integrity of the ballot.
the integrity of the ballot. Thank you. And then, we could just do the absentee. So we have multiple options. So myself, Bridget, and Dwayne are all up for re-election. So I think, it would probably be better if, the two council members who are not up for re-election possibly lead the discussion.
I mean, I'll start. I would like to try and preserve the June 1st date. I think we have time, and I don't think we necessarily need to delay it or push it off. I think it would be optimistic to think that by June, physical distancing will be such that we could still hold it, although our drill hall is open. I still think that people might just, there's a comfort level that isn't there. I'd like to see us explore how to do a mail-in ballot. But like you mentioned, Tracy, I'm also concerned. I just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity, right? That we're making sure that the ballots are available, but that there's integrity to the ballot as well. I know in our absentee ballot process, there's a statement that gets signed by the requester and recipient of an absentee ballot. But I'd also be naive to think that I know more about this process than Matt or Susan or the Board of Elections. But my 2 cents are I'd like to see it remain on June 1st. And I have no problem with the concept of a mail-in ballot. It's just the security of that and the integrity of the overall vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have until the next meeting to set up procedures. So I spent a little time looking at absentee ballot issues today for what we currently have, and just want everybody to sort of give some thought over the next 3 weeks or so to what changes we should be doing. So let me just go over a couple, then I'll email this to people as well. But so the starting question is, do we mail an absentee ballot request form to every registered voter, or do we just mail the actual ballot to each registered voter? Rockville held a mail-in election recently, and they just mailed ballots. We're going to have to rework the oath because it talks about not being available, and so there are parts of the oath that we want to strike. We have to give some thought to the deadline for receipt of the ballots. Do we want, right now the deadline for receiving absentee ballots is Election Day. That's what Rockville specified. And so should we require that the ballots be received by June 1st, or should we, or that it be postmarked by June 1st and received by some date after that? There's an issue of ballot harvesting, which I think is part of the ballot or election integrity issue. At the state and federal levels, ballot harvesting is regulated because there's a coercive aspect of having a candidate or one of his agents show up at your door and say, have you voted yet? Oh, no. Well, why don't you vote right now and I'll take your ballot to town hall. So Rockville requires a trusted agent authorization form for that if somebody's not going to mail their form in or drop them off at a polling location. So we have to decide, do we want people to personally mail or drop off, or do we want this additional option for somebody to go throughout town and collect ballots? And then finally, as Connor mentioned, there's this issue of election integrity. Maryland ballots use a special paper that is hard to duplicate. Our ballots have traditionally simply been photocopied paper because you receive them right before you file them. So I don't know if we're going to feel that a special envelope that has the oath on it would be sufficiently hard to duplicate, that would provide election integrity or if we're going to want some other aspect of it. So again, I'll share these by email in case you weren't furiously writing down, but those are the issues that I see, and I certainly welcome others if people have thoughts on what else we would want to do to make sure that the election is open to everybody who wants to vote, and but also the results are reliable.
One other thing that Sue Ellen mentioned was one of the municipalities did put out a locked box outside of their town hall, which I believe is also what the county is going to provide, at least 4 drop-off locations for ballots. So that's certainly something that we could also think about doing. So, I mean, in our little town, there's not much, maybe a few people, but most people would be able to drop off a ballot fairly easily here. So it's just another option to put out there. Dwayne, do you have any comments?
I'd support the notion of, a mail-in ballot. I do like the idea of having a lockbox for sure.
Okay. Bridget, other than what you stated first, or?
I'm less concerned about, I mean, of course, everyone's concerned about the integrity of the election, but I mean, we're not running for Senate. This is a town election. I think we should keep that in perspective and not get too crazy about it. Let's just make sure that we maintain the election process and keep things moving as best we can.
I think the biggest issue is to make sure that our updated list is as updated as it possibly could be, because you could be mailing to each household ballots to somebody who no longer lives there or has died.
But wouldn't that would be a problem no matter what, right? Like if you come to the town and you go to vote and your address is incorrect for your voter registry, you would have issues.
Well, I can still vote, but it goes into that pile where we'll investigate later. But I guess the point is, if you were to mail it to children who aren't living there at this time or somebody else, and somebody could take that ballot and turn it in. I'm just saying those are the issues that you have to deal with. So by mailing them just to every household. So we just need to make sure that we have the most updated voters list. So any other comments before we open it up to the people who have dialed in?
No, I guess my only other thought or comment, Darren mentioned the special paper, which we don't have. And I understand Bridget's point. I mean, it's a town, it's not the US Senate, it's certainly not the governorship. But, I do think for the sanctity of our government and people taking it seriously and believing in it, we do have to ensure as much security in the voting process and the ballots as possible. And a concern would be if you mail something that can be easily reproduced. I mean, we have to be realistic. We traditionally get an 8, 10, 12% turnout. It would be very easy to make a photocopy and put a bunch of other votes in a ballot box. And could we really ever detect that? Because we don't have 100% participation.
What is Tacoma Park doing? Because Tacoma Park is definitely doing it by mail, and so is, I think, was it Chevy Chase is also doing it by mail? Are they using this special paper?
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. I do know that there usually is a code that you have 2 envelopes. Like when we send them for absentee ballots, you return the envelope that has your name on it, and it matches what was sent out. Joe Smith asked for an absentee ballot. Joe Smith has returned his absentee ballot, and inside that envelope is the ballot, which is also in an envelope. So once you've checked off that Joe Smith has returned his ballot, you throw away Joe Smith's envelope, and then you take the envelope with his ballot and you put it in the pile. And now Joe Smith has become anonymous. So that's how it was explained to me by Sue Ellen on how they do that. And I believe we do that with our absentee ballots as well.
Right.
So this is a process that we've used in some shape before. and
Correct.
integrity has not been an issue.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And also on the absentee,
But never,
I don't know if on the absentee ballots, the way they work could reproduce it, but that's the integrity part because it's I sign every single one original signature. And
So you're getting,
Poor
Susan's getting
Well,
ready to sign 800
I mean, that's in the
ballots.
code to do that. And also in the code is the application where they ask for it. And then we look at the list or the Board of Elections looks at the list to see if that's person's registered. So, but I don't know on a big scale how it would work.
Well, other than a magic paper, you can get stamps. If you're hand signing these, Susan, we should be able to get a stamp that has this is special ink, and you're just stamping each paper. And when it comes back, the election officials there's a way to determine if that is the original ink or a photocopy. So there's other, call it technologies out there other than you getting a hand cramp signing every single original ballot.
Right.
So I think there are a number of ways we can do this to just provide some modicum of security, and I think we've got 3 weeks to talk about it.
okay, well, I think, are we pretty
Or
much on
Susan,
the
3 weeks.
same page
Sign
that
them.
we can do this for a June 1st? We're not going to need to change the time. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's just
I've
do it.
never heard of any
June 1st.
Okay.
proposal to defer.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the reason why we're even talking about it is because the governor gave municipalities this option. So it was meant to just be able to address it.
I do want to be clear. I think we should do it if we're doing it by mail. I do not think we should do it if we're encouraging people to go in one central location, all swap germs and then leave, viruses in this case, and then leave. I want to be pretty clear on that.
Oh, so you're saying if we were to say, no, we're just going to do it in person, you have to come in person like we normally do, then you'd not be on board with the June.
I would have incredible reservations about that.
Okay, well, at the very least, absentee balloting is everybody's option. They could all go with that option. No one has to come to vote, even if you leave it open. I mean, I think that's part of the charm of our town is people come on the day of an election. And so I would hate to discourage that tradition of people coming, shaking hands with the people who are running. I mean, it's a social event. So I'd hate for us to, in the future, I'd hate for us to move in that direction if we don't come together as a town on election day.
I think these are kind of unique. And I mean, I like that about our town too. That's a nice kind of cool Kensington thing. I don't want to give up either.
Right. Okay, anybody else from the council? Okay, anybody who has logged on, any questions, comments? Okay, all right. Well, Darren, could I ask you and Connor maybe to work with staff and to see what we can do regarding, we'll need to just run it by Sue Ellen, of course, and if necessary, the Board of Elections for the state. But we should be able to come back, but it sounds like we want to keep it on June 1st. And we want to provide people to get their ballots, either sending them all out by mail or just stick with absentee, but have no in the building, no in-person election. Is that correct? Sound about right?
Right. Aside from the ability of a drop box.
Right. Yeah, we would include a drop box outside. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Number 3 on the Development Review Board. Connor, Darren.
Yep. Let me bring those notes up. So for Development Review Board, largely the only project that we have reviewed is the 4,000 Knowles Avenue. This, again, as a reminder, is an application to take one property located within the CRN zone and to build 6 townhome units. This is at the intersection of Knowles Avenue and Summit Avenue. We last met with them on May 4th. Largely, that was a meeting to review some changes that came from parking planning, and it involved reducing some of the stormwater biofiltration. They shrunk some of the footprints. They relocated them slightly, both to the north and as they were looking along Summit Avenue. They talked about increasing the angle at the intersection of Summit and Knowles. This would be to increase pedestrian safety and reduce the traffic speed. So to put it another way, they kind of want to make the right-hand turn that one would take from northbound Summit onto eastbound Knowles a little bit of a less soft curve, a harder curve that involves promoting a slower speed of travel and therefore making a safer pedestrian experience on that corner. There were other minor changes to the appearance of the units, the 6-unit townhouses, but also some vocal commitments from the developer and whatever future HOA might be created to manage this property. Those include, again, a recommitment that this property will have be considered as having 4 fronts, because you can see the front of the building off of Knowles. It's easy to see the rear of the building as you approach it on Summit. You can clearly see the west side from Summit. And they acknowledge that if and at such time that the property to the east, the Kaiser home, is ever redeveloped, that if there's a clearing of the bamboo that's there, you may very well see the eastern side of the building as well. So they've committed to wrapping all 4 sides in high quality materials: hardy board, brick, stone, the same things that are usually reserved for the front of a development. So they've committed to that, as well as they've committed to these 4 large street trees along Knowles and Summit Avenue. To maintaining those trees, they will be putting back new trees to anything they clear, obviously to clear the parcel for development. At the end of the day, the total number of trees will be far increased what is there now. But other than that, at this point, obviously things have slowed down quite a bit as the county adjusted to COVID, as the developers working through the project. But those were the updates from the March meeting. Darren, anything you want to add?
Can you address the driveways? I know that was an issue that we specifically asked them to.
Yeah. So we asked the applicant and planning talked about the fact that off the rear, they have driveways that would look to be, creating impassability. But the reality is there's no sidewalk on the north side of Kaiser Place, Mitchell Street. And in fact, one of the things that this development would do is help to create a connection on the south side of Kaiser Place and Mitchell Street, where there would be a sidewalk taken from the corner where it ends, wrapping off of Dietrich, and move it westward all the way toward where it connects into the end of the street by Summit Avenue. Originally, the applicant had proposed a development that staggered the townhomes along Knowles Avenue to give deeper backyards towards Kaiser. Planning doesn't like that. Planning, in fact, requested that they make all of the properties flush along the rear line and create a open green space along Knowles that creates a sound buffer. It changes some of the density. It doesn't create this canyon effect along Knowles. It softens the landscape. As a result, though, what you have is townhomes that have a garage. That garage provides 1 or 2 parking spaces, depending on which iteration they go with. You have space in a driveway for a vehicle, although depending on the size of your vehicle, those vehicles may overhang into the roadway. And then to that point, there should be sufficient parking in that area, and that if the vehicle doesn't fit in the driveway, it should simply be parked on the street and just be taken up as a normal enforcement event for the town.
Council, any questions?
If I recall, that end unit had a 5-foot paved surface. And I thought that Tom suggested that he was open to re-presenting it to Park and Planning to perhaps adjust that end home back towards Knowles. I mean, yeah, it's,
When you, Dwayne, when you say
I just
end,
don't
you
like
mean,
a 5-foot driveway with a car sticking out of it into the street because they didn't want to park it in their garage. It just doesn't seem like it promotes the neighborhood so much.
okay, so you're talking the very westward unit towards Summit, closest to Summit,
No, eastward,
that they would,
up against the Kaiser property.
okay. That one is the longest driveway, if I'm not mistaken. Let me bring up that file. But they did, I mean, they did go talk to planning, and planning more or less is, believes the building should stay where they've helped them to relocate them. Flush along Kaiser Place. Bring it up.
Any other questions? Is there any questions from the audience?
Sorry, if I can interject, because now I brought that plan back up. To Dwayne's point, Dwayne, one of the other issues presented, the applicant went and talked about it. One of the other problems is the most eastern unit, they can't move forward because that's where the bioswell is that they've located, that they need for stormwater management. So they can't push the unit northward without taking away the bioswale that they need, and they're not willing to shrink the total unit size because they don't think it's marketable. The point was, yes, you have a driveway. Yes, it's insufficient to park a vehicle. If you did, it's an enforceable violation.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind about that parking situation is if a car parks parallel to its driveway and sticks out into the road, I think there's a problem. But under our code, that car is allowed to park in the street as long as on-street parking is permitted, blocking the end of his own driveway. So that can happen anywhere in town, that you are allowed to block your own driveway with a car.
Okay, well, this project is still under review with planning, so I don't know. What is, do you recall what the turnaround time was for that? I mean, where he goes from here?
They had a filing date for March 18th. They came via DRB to the town council, asked just for a letter stating that at present, the way it's designed, we are supportive of. That letter went into that package.
Which included our concern about the driveway. I want to be clear.
Yes, which is what prompted a further conversation about it. But to my knowledge, that application is still with planning, working its way through review.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you already cover what the specific amenities are to the town?
I mean, we did at last March meeting. Yes, I can pull those notes up if you need. All right. So based on the sector plan, you know, the public amenities, one was a high quality design. As we talked about, you know, we took them from initially 3 sides to all 4 sides being high quality, hardy, obviously no vinyl, none of the things that we are unwilling to approve anyways, but brick and stone, to include working on the front to present a more welcoming entrance to them and differentiating the units. The stormwater management is to help improve some of the water flow that's in that area. They've got a little bit more than is required and necessary. They've talked about what they are calling this plaza, this public plaza at Knowles and Summit, where they would create a more welcoming entrance into the town. The applicant has stated as such that whether there's public art or an entrance sign or, you know, whatever the town may want as to welcome people in, we now have our location or placard sign there, but something to enhance that entry into the town. Sidewalks, obviously there are things they have to do in compliance with SHA, in compliance with the future master bike plan, but they are committed to the improving the sidewalks, removing them from the roadway, creating a green buffer space, creating the ability for the master bike plan to be integrated in the future, creating and putting in additional street trees. Along Summit specifically, they want to also work to remove the sidewalk from next to the roadway, at least on their portion. Obviously, as you continue southbound on Summit, the sidewalk in front of HOC goes back out in front of or right along adjacent to the street. They obviously can't control that, but they would set up at least that corner so that if things were to change along the rest of the strip, they've set in motion the idea of pulling that sidewalk away and creating a safer pedestrian experience in the sidewalk there. And then also talked about ways to try and promote and create a green space along the corner there at Summit and Knowles.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? I'll give the audience one more shot at this. Any questions? Okay. All right. We will move on. John, you need to mute I can hear Ozzy. All right, so let's go down to number 4, which would be the LAP. Connor, I'm sorry, that's still you, and Bridget.
So LAP, myself, Bridget, Mayor Tracy, and
Can you
Helen
say what
Wilkes.
LAP is for the record?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes. So the inside of historic preservation, of which we have a large historic district within the town of Kensington, the county has the Historic Preservation Commission, which is the HPC, and that is what governs what a historic homeowner may or may not do to the exterior of their home. Within that, in each historic district within the county, there is the opportunity to have what they call a local advisory panel. That local advisory panel, or LAP, is made up of residents who live within the town or, hopefully also the historic district, who meet a certain set of criteria, who also review any historic area work permits to ensure that they are meeting not only the Department of the Interior and state and county historic preservation guidelines, but also the Kensington Historic District guidelines. And so the LAP is made up of our residents. Helen Wilkes is the chair. And as we brought it up last month, there are other municipalities that within the county that have a function through the town that helps to manage, organize, help provide administrative oversight of their local area, their LAPs. And so we brought up this concept of doing the same within the town. So myself, Bridget, Mayor Tracy, and Helen Wilkes, as the chair of the LAP, met to discuss how best we may do that. Nothing has obviously been finalized, but what we discussed was first a look back at the historic artifacts that Helen has been keeping as the chair. What did they tell us about the evolution of the predecessor to the LAP, which was the LAC? Then the current construct of the LAP, the guidelines that the county HPC provides, further guidelines and policies or procedures rather that the LAP had put together and gotten approved by the HPC as to what the size of the LAP would be, what the membership criteria are, how they review projects, how they communicate back to the HPC and historic planning staff. And so what we talked about were we looked at these historic artifacts and kind of looked backwards, and are going to prepare a draft of what we believe are the important and enduring guidelines that should continue to move forward, update them, kind of look toward the future, and then also talk about how the LAP could function just with support of the town, right? How it can find a home on the town's website, where its information can reside, where people can go to learn about the process, where the LAP can work to educate our historic property owners, how the town could assign some form of a liaison. And we talked about pros and cons of whether that should be somebody from the council or somebody from the staff. And then just kind of some of the operating procedures that the LAP might want to codify. So this is a work in progress. There is a deadline on me. I'm pulling these notes together to get back out to that group of 4 to continue this conversation. And that deadline is to have that back at the end of this week. And so at this point, there's no action to be taken other than this is just more or less an update for the rest of the council.
Bridget, do you have any comments you want to add to that, or?
No, just that I would like to keep the town's involvement and control to nothing, essentially. You know, I want to make sure that we have the infrastructure that they need with no control and no input. I think they are their own unique body.
Well, I think for the most part, we're administrative as far as, and the holder of the information, so people know they can do it. But yeah, unless somebody's asking for a change, variance, there should be no reason to come to the town for any of these.
No, we have Matt for a reason.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
HBC
fully with Bridget.
I'm with
Yeah.
Bridget.
So, yeah, we're just trying to get them more organized and transparent. I mean, that's the main purpose for this.
Well-
Any other comments or questions from the council?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so-
why can't we just do this currently
Through the website rather than the town taking administrative.
leadership role in this?
And Pete, since you guys are in the same room or close enough, we're getting a, can you mute
We're getting
Pete?
an echo. Yeah, we've got an echo chamber.
I
Okay,
just
go ahead.
muted Pete, so
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dwayne. Can you do that?
No, I think that everything that you suggested that needs to occur can currently happen through our new and improved website. And I don't feel I don't see any benefit, unless I'm missing something, that as to why the town would all of a sudden step in and provide an administrative role to this. This is supposed to be an independent, resident-based group, from my understanding, that this permit applicants with the processing of their application. And
Where the word administrative simply means that we would be hosting their information on our website. The information would be provided to the staff. They would post it on the website under their page. So they would have a section on our website for the LAP for people to go to.
And
That's
if
all.
if there was a variance, and then what would happen?
The variance would then have to come to the town. And we have done that on a couple of occasions. Most recent that I can remember was a house on Baltimore where the window wanted to go into that 10-foot setback. That was I recall the last time there was a variance, and I believe it was granted.
Not a part of it, but they
Yeah,
said
and
none of them.
Dwayne, this is Connor.
Yeah.
I guess it's word choice. I mean, administrative support is more what we discussed. So to that point, giving them a home on the website, keeping, their documents there, information, stuff about the tax benefits from both state and county, the educational materials, even just helping the LAP if they want to help facilitate a information sharing like they did with the historic the KHS recently. And then the other thing is just helping make sure that they are meeting the county's and state's requirements for open meetings. So we give them a home. Like if you want to have it at town hall, great. just here's your liaison. If it's Matt, I'm going to pick on Matt. Let's say it's Matt. All right, you just call Matt, schedule it. He'll help make sure that you get it noticed properly. He'll help make sure the building's open for you, that the building gets locked, and that the minutes are published, you know, in accordance with the rules that they're supposed to be following.
Yeah, I mean, currently nobody has any way of finding out even who's on the LAP. I mean, it's just, there's no written, you have to go to Helen. Of course, you'd have to know it's Helen. So she is fully supportive of us trying to get a handle on this because she has been the keeper of all this unbelievable amount of information. And she could move tomorrow and all that information would go with her. So it's very important that we be the keepers of some very good historic information on the LAP. So any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? No? Okay. All right. Let's
They
move on.
may, Tracy, they may have to use the reaction summary because we have them on mute for the feedback. So, okay.
I haven't seen any reactions that I can see, and I haven't seen anything come up saying somebody has a question. I guess that wave, or I mean, you're the host.
Yeah, they should put the hand up, or they should be able to unmute themselves.
Okay.
Seems like we have 22 participants, but we haven't heard a word out of anybody.
I heard Ozzy.
True.
Joe Campbell just unmuted himself, so he confirmed that we can.
Yeah, hello, Dwayne.
There he
Hello,
is.
Dr. Campbell.
Excellent. Okay, good. All right, so moving on to a very exciting, let's see, did I miss the traffic? I'm using this giant, no, here we go. Okay, update. Yes, traffic, number 4. I gotta turn on the light in my office, it's getting dark.
All right, Bridget, do you want me to handle it or do you want? Okay. So there are 3 items on the agenda for the traffic committee. The first is Farragut Avenue speed hump petition. This has been under consideration probably for 1.5 years or 2 years now. When we originally took speed data on the street, the speeds were so low that from a traffic engineering perspective, they weren't warranted. But we did understand that there were some aspects of the street that were uncomfortable, mainly traffic that comes off of University onto Farragut, comes at a fairly rapid pace before it slows down or doesn't slow down. So we tried putting this, what we call a pork chop, I think, at the end of the street to channelize traffic and slow it down. At this point, the residents have come back and said they still want a second speed hump. They've submitted a petition that provides the sufficient support for it. I know that Matt has collected some additional traffic speed and volume data. I don't know if you are able to present that tonight, Matt? Or?
Yeah, so following the pork chop placement at the intersection of University and Farragut Avenue, we ran the radar speeding device there. The speed limit dropped from an average of 18 miles per hour to 15 miles per hour. Our standard speed hump in the town is installed to reduce speeds from 25 miles per hour. That was the only consideration that we had that we took to the traffic committee back in December. But the residents along the 3700 block of Farragut requested that they could submit a petition.
And when you say it's to, the speed humps are intended to bring traffic speeds down. They're intended to bring them down, I believe, to about 19 miles an hour. So
from 18 to 15.
No, I thought you said those were the current speeds.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Right. And so the prevailing speeds on that road are already below what the speed hump would accomplish. However, it's a fairly small installation, and so given the overwhelming support of the street and their understanding that it will go in front of somebody's house, and then we've had placement problems in the past, but they seem to acknowledge that they would still like one. So I would just recommend that we go ahead and put one in.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the speed humps on Farragut from the council? Is there anybody from the audience who wants to comment on the speed hump, adding a second speed hump on Farragut Avenue? Okay.
There is a resolution at the end of the agenda for the traffic order. So I
Okay.
don't know if you want to take ahead, if you want to vote on it now and move it up, or if you want to wait till the end.
Well, unless somebody's going to change their mind, we can wait till the end.
Okay.
Let's just stay in order. Dwayne, did you have a question?
Well, yeah, I'm not suggesting that I don't support, lowering the speed on Farragut, but are we going to entertain multiple speed humps within a 1-block section? I mean, every time
Well, we have before.
in the same block?
Well, DuPont has two in the same block. Farragut has 2, don't you?
We have 2 on Farragut. Now, that 3600 block of Farragut is really a 2-block street, but there are
Okay.
multiple locations throughout town that currently have 2 speed bumps in 1 block.
I think Armory Avenue has 2. Between Baltimore and Mitchell Street, we added a second one. So we're not setting precedent here. We did that 2 or 3 speed humps ago. So I think the width of the street is what causes some concern with the speeding. And so, okay, is that your only concern? Just precedent, or?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I do want to clarify though, DuPont is not a 1-block
I know it's a long
street.
block.
It's 2 blocks. It's
Yeah,
not 2 within 1 block on DuPont.
okay. All right. Okay, what's the B, Decatur, Darren?
Oh, yeah, so the second petition, and this is just this came in through as a result of annexation. Decatur, which is off of St. Paul Street up in the north end, has a 1-way direction sign on it, and to my knowledge, residents don't follow it. I think it's been enforced once against a resident, and that sort of precipitated the request to remove it. The petition is to change it to 2-way operation. However, at the western end of Decatur, where it turns up to University, there are do not enter signs that would keep traffic from entering Decatur at University. So
Okay.
the residents are overwhelmingly in support of changing it to 2-way operation. And they submitted a petition, which I just received and emailed out to everybody to that effect.
Is there a resolution on that too, Matt, in the back? I think there is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions for Councilmember Bartram regarding the changing the traffic pattern on Decatur?
Aaron, was this the one near the bus stop? I'm trying to remember.
Off
The-
University?
Decatur is, if you go north on St. Paul, almost all the way to University Boulevard.
Oh, we're not talking about the one on Kensington Parkway. That
No.
No.
Okay.
That's up in my hood.
So has anyone else seen this petition? Because I've not seen the petition.
I emailed it after the meeting started. We had thought we were going to get it from one of the residents, and it didn't come in. So I called her right before the meeting and asked, I said, just take a picture of it and send me the pictures, because we're doing things a little different right now. And she did. And so I've emailed them to you. The petition was something that Matt prepared. And if you look at the signatures and the number of yeses, it clearly complies with our standard.
Okay. It hasn't come through yet. So
I sent it to mayor.council.
Yeah, I got it. It's there.
is it?
It came in at 7:30 and 7:31.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to, any questions regarding, from the audience on Decatur Avenue? Okay. All right, go on to C.
All right, and the final thing from the traffic committee is that years ago we had a speed trail, which we could put in various parts of town. It was actually pretty big, so we didn't tend to deploy it a lot, but it has fallen apart to the point of not being usable and needs to be disposed of. In however many decades since we bought that, the technology has gotten a lot smaller, and now we can strap them to telephone poles, we can add solar panels to them, and the messaging can be customized. I first saw this when I was leaving West Point up in New York, and the speed camera would say that my speed was, the speed was 25 and I was going 24, and so it flashed a thank you message. I thought that was kind of cool. Or you could do a smiley face, or the messages are customizable. You can, if somebody's
It's
over.
positive reinforcement.
Yeah, there's positive reinforcement, and there's an ability to sort of have a meaner message too. You're going too fast, but I think there are a number of locations in towns that it would be useful to deploy occasionally. We do get a lot of complaints about excess speeds. I think that Howard Avenue is one of those roads that could use a little bit of traffic calming, and I think this would accomplish that. So I would just and I sent these issues out to the traffic committee and sought their input. I canceled the March 19th committee meeting because of the virus, but I also said that while it's going on, I think it's a big enough burden for us to conduct a Zoom meeting for the town. I think conducting a public meeting with the traffic committee while we aren't facing particularly momentous issues suggested that maybe we should just elevate any issue to the town for consideration, with first giving the traffic committee members an opportunity to weigh in. And there was no opposition to the traffic speed camera or radar sign, and in fact there was support for it.
Okay. Bridget, do you have anything to add for that, or?
You guys just all froze for like the last 2 minutes. I didn't hear anything.
You didn't hear? Oh, all right. But do you have any thoughts on the radar speed sign? That's what we were just talking about.
So this is the one on Howard Ave?
No, this is
Or
one
potentially on Howard Ave? I heard Howard Ave in there somewhere.
This one could be moved around depending on where you wanted to place it.
Oh. I mean, I think it's fine. I always worry about the whole Las Vegas comment that we got about the last time. So, I don't want to drop too much money on it in case it becomes the sort of hot potato that we have with that $200 flashing
Well,
sign or whatever.
Where people either love it or they hate it. Because I have actually a lot of people who say they love it, but the ones who hate it tend to, let us know right away. But there are people that love it.
A lid for every pot, Tracy.
I know.
For every pot.
We had previously one of these radar speed, it was a trailer, so you could move it around. So we did use that. Unfortunately, it's past its time and is now just a piece of junk and no longer works. So it just needs to.
I think it's probably smart. I mean, I would appreciate it, but.
Well, I think if you really want to show people what they are speeding, that's about the only way of doing it. Because when we put the box up, it doesn't tell them what they're speeding. It tells us later in the data, but they don't see that they're actually going 35 and a 25 mile an hour. And I think that is what slowed people down. So I think that is important. So.
Understood. Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Okay. Dwayne, did you have any comments on that? You seem to, your face said it all.
I think we're going down the wrong road here. It's not in keeping with the charm of the town that everybody talks about when it's convenient, but And again, I'm all about the rules and the regulations. I understand that, but I don't like the Carnival Act approach to speed control. I don't like it. I think that's why we have our own police force now, and we ought to rely upon them to do that work.
Okay, but I don't think they're giving out speeding tickets. Their main thing is for traffic restrictions. So, but their presence tend to make people slow down, as do speed humps. So, okay, well, I think Darren is looking for support for the town to purchase this radar equipment. It is in our budget. Were we buying that in this budget, Matt?
Either one's fine. It fits within either one.
Okay. I don't know the exact cost, but I think it was $3,700. We're not talking about a great sum of money here.
Yeah, I think the quote was $3,440, so $3,440. So.
Right.
Does anybody in the audience who's logged on have any comments before I ask Darren to make a motion?
Yeah, Mayor Tracy, I do. This is Joe Campbell.
Okay.
If the older piece of equipment was.
Oh, that's right. No street.
Don't do that.
Okay. Sorry. I'm so used to asking that question. Go ahead, Dr.
And I'm so used to answering it, but I thought it was irrelevant tonight. In any case, if the older piece of equipment was neglected and not maintained, what sort of measures are going to be put in place to make sure that this new purchase is going to be better looked after, and then how will it be deployed? I mean, who makes the determination and where? Is it in response to townspeople's complaints, or is it something that the council decides in its wisdom?
Well, I think the piece of equipment was purchased when Lynn Rofast was mayor, I believe. So that tells you how old that is. It's probably close to 20 years old. So I think it's just done its time. So I don't think it was from not being taken care of.
My question is how will this new piece of equipment be taken
No, I understand.
care of?
I wanted to address that since you brought it up. I believe right now the traffic committee would probably, and the staff, when we receive concerns about, which is I believe how the other one was sent around town, we get enough complaints about speeding, and then it's set up to try to slow traffic down. Is that how you envision it, Darren, or?
Yeah, I would think that this is not something that needs to wait for a traffic committee meeting to be deployed or a council meeting. I think that its deployment, and it's not handing out tickets. I think its deployment can be managed at the staff level.
Okay.
And then, Tracy, to Dr. Campbell's point, I'm reading through the information sheet on it. It seems to be roughly 2 feet by 2 feet and 19 pounds. So it seems like something that would be very easily moved, deployed, as well as stored, even at town hall. When not in use, it'll be protected in an indoor storage, correct?
Right. Yeah, the other one was on a trailer. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you. I do have one other question. Councilmember Rollins mentioned a carnival-like appearance, and I'd like to know more about that because I share his concerns about uglying up the town with this sort of stuff, but I've never seen it in action, so I'd like to know more about the carnival-like appearance. Thank you.
Dwayne, did you want to respond to that, or do you want me to?
No, you can.
Okay, I mean, I thought we had all driven by speed radar signs in the county where it flashes your speed. This would have a couple of additional lines for text that might say, speed 25, thank you. So it's there are some out there that either flash a bright white light at you to try to trick you into thinking that it's taking your photograph, or they flash bright blue LED and red LED lights at you. This is not that. This is simply a message that can be, the light. And this sign has a lot of customizable features. If people don't want it going off after 11 at night, that's a programmable feature.
Darren, could we get one that doesn't have the messaging at the bottom? Is that possible?
Well, you don't have to deploy the messaging. If you don't want to tell people thank you for going below the speed limit, you don't have to. You can turn it off.
I'm trying to negotiate the garishness.
I think when a sign sits above that says 25 and you see that I'm going 35, that does tell the driver something, that you are speeding. So I don't view that as carnival. I view that as safety. But
And we get a lot of complaints from people, and there are a lot of people who live on Fawcett and Armory complain that it's hard for them to get to turn onto Howard Avenue because of the volume and speed of cars. And I think if we can help calm that road down some, and other roads, Metropolitan is a similar one. I don't know if we have to work with the county to put it there, but I think we can add some traffic calming with it.
anybody else?
This goes back. This goes back to this whole conversation where we've had around and around about putting a stop sign on Howard Avenue. A stop sign is a lot less expensive than a $3,500 electronic piece of equipment that flashes neon lights at you.
Well, they're not neon lights, and the stop sign, again, this is sort of a different issue altogether. The stop sign on Howard at Fawcett and Armory is simply not justified from an engineering judgment perspective. And if we are going to put a stop sign there, we are going to face potential issues from people who don't follow the stop sign. And that we're going to get the same complaints. Now people are running stop signs because there are so few cars coming in from Armory and Fawcett. So our engineer has told us that from an engineering judgment perspective, that stop sign is not warranted. So I'm looking for other solutions that are consistent with engineering judgment to introduce some traffic calming there and wherever else people want it on this in town. We do get complaints about speeding up the various pitchfork roads. We get a lot of complaints about speed. And this to me is it's a reminder of what the speed limit is and what the driver is actually going.
Okay. Pete?
Thank you, Mayor Furman. I just wanted to comment. I don't have a problem with the actual mechanism. I'm not a big fan of the bright lights and all that, but the bigger issue here is the county could be anywhere from $100 to $500 million in debt because of COVID, and then the state close to $1.5 billion in debt because of COVID. So the town's going to feel that, and to spend $3,700 on a traffic device that's not necessary at this time may be a little early. Maybe the council could agree to go ahead and buy it, but then wait 6 months and see where we are with the budget, because things are going to change drastically with the revenues the town's going to see.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the audience?
Yeah, Mayor Furman, I do. I think the comment by former Mayor Fosselman was on target, and it really does, I think, behoove the council and the town to hold off on this kind of purchase, even if the amount is comparatively modest. Nonetheless, I think it sends a good message if we do hold off on this. And plus, I'm not even so sure it's in the long run going to be an effective device to cut down on speeding. If speeders go by this and see that they confirm what they already know, then what is it that's going to really make them slow down? I mean, unless there's a cop there giving out tickets, I don't see that this is going to be an effective device in the long run.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Anyone else? Okay. Darren, did you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I haven't made a motion for either of the previous two, Farragut or Decatur. I don't know if you want
Well,
to.
we're doing those for, those are actually resolutions at the end. So we'll be doing those as resolutions on the,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Okay.
But I think as far as purchasing the radar equipment, that would just come from a motion.
Okay.
Is anybody who lives or is functioning around that area who's asked for the stop sign, or any of them, you know, participating here on this forum? Like, do they have any comments?
Asking for the radar equipment from the traffic committee, is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I mean, I've heard people asking for the stop sign. I've definitely heard that, but I'm wondering, you know, what their position is on this detector instead.
I just looked at the participants and I didn't see anybody that I recognized who's previously been involved in traffic near Fawcett or Armory.
Okay. I think this is basically a tool that we have that we can use to try to slow down traffic. But it's up to the council if you want to move forward with purchasing them.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the sentiments about the potential future impact on finances. You know, and I will say that before I presented this one particular camera, I did get quotes from other providers that were significantly more, on the order of $5,500 to $9,500. And I was looking for one that was both customizable and, you know, kind of a smaller budget hit. So my preference, my recommendation, and my motion would be to go ahead and purchase it and see if that succeeds.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Opposed.
Convinced me.
Oh, great. Thank you, guys. Well, I do know that this has been something that the town has been looking at for a while, that the traffic committee meeting traffic committee has been talking about, but I think what I would like to do though is to hold off to vote for it, but to hold off on the purchase until we get a better handle. So can we postpone this until, I mean, I'll vote to purchase it, but I'd like to see us not purchase it until we get into next year's budget. Hold on.
That's fine with me.
Okay. I do want to remind everybody in the budget though that we are basically our upcoming budget is based on numbers from last year, so not from what we're currently experiencing. So just for the record, the income is from last year, not this year. So not to say that we're not going to have a problem in 21. So just want to be clear about that. So okay, thank you. So
one additional item that I don't know where you or we want to talk about it on the agenda is the Solera construction project that's going to require a detour.
Yes, let's go ahead and do you have the information on that in front of you? I don't have that. As far as what they're proposing? I know
Matt,
Connor,
do you have that? Are you able to brief
Sure.
on
Yes.
that?
We were advised by Modena by Solera, the construction company, Wilson, that they will need to close Metropolitan Avenue between St. Paul and Wheatley for a minimum of 6 weeks to do the utility undergrounding, mainly the Pepco. They provided a possible detour that's going to come to St. Paul to hit up to Pliers Mill. We found out about this late Friday afternoon. There's some traffic control restrictions on St. Paul Street that will need to be temporarily removed. Specifically, if you're heading northbound on St. Paul at Oberon Street, there's a time restriction, a do not enter time restriction between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. If you're coming southbound, there's a truck restriction. So if you're coming south on St. Paul from Pliers Mill, there's a truck restriction. There's also a third restriction at the intersection of St. Paul and Oberon Street. If you're heading west on Oberon to head north on St. Paul towards Pliers Mill, there's a no turn restriction there between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. So those are all restrictions that we would, at least the first two, we would probably need to remove temporarily. The third one, we might want to actually look to expand it to prevent queue jumping, if traffic ever picks up in the short term.
And this is from May. They predicted May to August, but that was their worst case scenario. Is
Worst
that
case
correct?
scenario is May to August. I spoke with Paul this afternoon on the phone. He's hoping 6 weeks, but realistically, that's just kind of wishful thinking.
Okay. Well, right now, there's not as much traffic as there would normally be, and then we'll get into the summer months, and, hopefully the traffic will remain low even if we were to get back to where we were. Okay. All right. So that's just informational. Does anybody else have any questions regarding this from the council, or?
I have a different question. Is there anything to be done about the abrupt ending to the sidewalk on the west end of the Solera project? We're in front of the,
like, Farragut Builders?
yes, because the sidewalk ends and there's nowhere for anyone to go. Is there any chance we could get permission to put in a temporary crosswalk there to the sidewalk across the street?
Is there not a sign that says further up that the sidewalk will end at an X point?
Not that I've noticed. I walk over there a lot.
Okay. I mean, that seems to me it would be better is to just let somebody know that the sidewalk will end, so that if you want to get to the other side, you should be doing that there at the shopping center where Manny's is, not walking past Talia's and further down.
Right.
Okay. I think that would be easier than trying to get State Highway to allow us to put a crosswalk there. Certainly.
So 2 comments real quick. One is just because I had also spoken to the gentleman from Wolfson on why this change came about suddenly Friday afternoon. So this is for PEPCO to underground utilities. And in the planning phases, and this is above my pay grade, but in the planning phases, they were going to use a style of connection that did not require as much surface space, and they would be able to keep one lane open and run a detour on Metropolitan that would just be controlled by construction workers, allowing westbound traffic for a period and then eastbound traffic. And then what they found out late was PEPCO is going to use a different style of utility. It is larger in size. It requires them to dig up more of Metropolitan to where they cannot safely operate any sort of detour on Metropolitan. So that's why it's kind of caught us off guard. This all happened with PEPCO late. And then for clarity, just one thing, Matt, you inadvertently said that the shutdown is from St. Paul to Wheatley. It's actually starting at St. Paul, moving westward to the commercial properties, the like townhouse properties. It's a 65-foot, 70-foot distance. That would be part of it. And then they'd flip to the, just past that driveway up to essentially the Farragut Builders driveway. But they've done it such that all businesses, all of the driveways and entry points to every commercial business on Metropolitan will be maintained. It's just which direction they're going to have to access the business from.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Any questions from the audience who've logged in? Okay, thank you. All right, just give an opportunity for any of the council members before we move down to town manager. If anybody has anything else they want to report. Bridget, anything? No. Dwayne, you have anything you want to report?
Report, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's, again, I apologize for sounding like a broken record, but this mixed moving trucks and the U-Haul trucks on the train shop in the newly annexed section of the town. It is nothing short of a moving billboard, and it is right up onto the sidewalk and totally in the green space now. I took photos of it today when I was walking over there to look at Decatur, and something's got to be done. If we don't have the authority to stop it, something ought to be done about it, because it just detracts from the feel of the town. It looks terrible.
Well, I think we discussed this when you brought it up last time, and Matt looked into it, and we don't have any authority over commercial property. And what we can do is create an ordinance, so we do have control over commercial property. So if that's what you want to recommend, then we can start looking into, we'll probably have to hold some sort of work session, because I don't want to do it for one thing. If there are other things that we want to do, we should include them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And then I'm going to ask again. I ask it every meeting. You mentioned at one point that there was an order placed for a recycling receptacle on Howard Avenue, but I haven't ever seen any added, and I haven't heard that we have a delivery date yet.
No, we haven't ordered it. It's in the FY21 for park and maintenance for, we have some benches in there. I don't know if we're going to go through it now, but it would be in that order for FY21.
I specifically recall that I was told at a council meeting that it was on order, and it's never materialized. Oh. Okay.
So do you want to put together some things that you would like to see an ordinance for, so we could have a work session on it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other comments about that? Okay. Connor, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
Just a couple of thank yous to Carrie Ann Zentz specifically, and Matt, and then to one of our residents, Tim Stelzig, who helped put together and compile a lot of information for our local businesses around different grants that are available, how to access them, demystifying a little bit how to apply for them. I know from talking to several of the local businesses, there was an onslaught of information, and it helped to focus them on those pieces that were most helpful. And then I got a lot of thank yous for that, but the thank yous go to Carrie Ann and Matt and to Tim Stelzig for really helping to spearhead a lot of that.
Okay, well, I definitely want to thank you and Tim for putting that together. I know it was very helpful. For people that don't know, we've created a page on our website, COVID-19, that provides a lot of information for our businesses. And Carrie Ann just put together one for our farmers market as well, regarding if you wanted to make pre-orders, giving the information of the vendors where you could call ahead and have a pre-order ready for you. So, a lot of people do that. So thank you.
The other one to that point from Carrie Ann, if you're wondering what to eat, what's open, what has delivery, she's prepared an information sheet that's on the town website under the COVID information, all about everything that every one of our restaurants is doing, whether they're open, what their hours are. She's constantly inquiring with them to keep it fresh and up to date, but also with our merchants. We're going out and we're talking to anybody who has transitioned to online shopping or any sort of online marketplace. So there are still opportunities to engage with our local businesses, even while they may be closed or modified in how they operate. And so if you have the chance, please look at it. And then secondarily, if you have the chance and the means to help support our local businesses during this time, I really hope that you can and do so.
Yeah, thank you. Darren?
I don't have anything beyond what we talked about already.
Okay. I'll just bring up a couple of things. I really want to thank council members Bartram and Crimmins, who have been with me at the farmers market since the state of emergency. We've been down there every Saturday, making sure that everybody is practicing their social distancing and that now wearing a mask. And so we had a lot of great feedback from the people who do participate in the farmers market and appreciate that it's open. And I want to assure everybody who is listening that the state of Maryland does want farmers markets to stay open. The county wants farmers markets to stay open because they are a great food source to our community. And so it's been a lot of fun actually being out there every Saturday. We haven't had the perfect day yet, but maybe one day, because it was pretty darn cold last Saturday. But it's been a great experience being out there every week. So anyway, so thank you, Darren and Connor, for being able to come out and do that with us. So okay, well, from the town manager and the staff.
So I'm going to hold my report towards the ordinances and resolutions. Just have a lot to go over there. So.
Okay. Okay. Susan?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Let's see. Public appearances. This is your opportunity. Those who are muted to make a comment if you wish to.
We have Jack.
Hi, I'm Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Hi. First, I say this meeting is really great. I'm glad to see that it worked so well. There are 2 meteor showers upcoming this week, Wednesday the 22nd, and the morning of Thursday the 23rd. The Lyrian meteor shower will peak with about 20 meteors per hour. The moon is just past new, so the conditions will be ideal for viewing the night of the 22nd and the morning of the 23rd. You look in the east-southeast direction.
Okay.
Next, in May, the evening of Wednesday, May 6th to the morning of Wednesday, May 7th, the Eta Aquariid meteor shower will peak with about 30 meteors per hour. Unfortunately, the moon will be nearly full, so it will be difficult to see all but the brightest comets.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Jack. Anything else?
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else wishing to make a comment? Okay. We will move on to ordinance, resolution, and regulation.
I think Gloria Capron had a question.
Oh, Gloria?
Go ahead, Gloria.
Matt, you may need to unmute her.
I did. I unmuted her, so she should be ready to go.
She's still muted.
Now, let's see. How
There
about
she
that?
is. Yep.
There you go.
I love this. I love this meeting format. I can watch The Voice and you guys all at the same time.
We could sing for you.
Yeah.
You could.
Great. No, it's great. It's great. It's great to be able to. I hope I'll encourage others to join in because it's really it's great to be able to get to a town meeting when, you know, I otherwise might not be able to fit it in. So this is wonderful. So thanks.
You're welcome. Did you have a
Thanks,
question?
COVID. I guess there are good things that are happening.
Thank you, Gloria. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. So we will move on to ordinance, resolutions, and regulations. Matt.
So this is ordinance number O-01-2020. This is a revised ordinance that we introduced back in 2019, amending commercial sign regulations. We initially ended the comment period last Friday at 4 p.m. We received no comments by that period, but we received a number since then. So I know the mayor and council want to address that. So.
Yes, that's, as Matt said, we did receive probably about a dozen or so comments regarding particularly the banners, specifically the banners, about 60 days. They wanted to go to 30 days. And then there was discussion about making a policy regarding the banners of what they could say. I think I was pretty clear when I sent emails back to everyone that we cannot enforce policies, we have to enforce laws, and we cannot regulate content. So we are either dealing with the banners or not dealing with the banners. And also one of the items, because we were past the designated deadline for receiving comments, I did check with our town attorney, and the council can decide to accept them into the public record, or they can decide not to. So that's up to you all if you want to accept the comments. I mean, even if we had extended it an additional week because we had postponed, all the comments came after the 17th. So we're coming in the 18th, the 19th, and today. So, but the council can do whatever you all want to do.
So my guess is that people are paying attention because they're home now and maybe have a little bit more time to spend on it.
They were home after starting on the 14th, but
yeah.
You know, I think the agenda was sending out the agenda probably was a prompt for people to make the, because it included the election as well.
Yeah.
I don't mind considering, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
I mean, it doesn't hurt anything.
No.
No, the only concern I had that I expressed was that if we get in the habit of telling people the comment period closes on a certain day, and somebody who holds a contrary view to what, obviously the comments that we got over the last 3 days were prompted by a specific email asking people to weigh in and Facebook or listserv posts. And so they were presented a narrative, and that narrative caused them to weigh in and say that they're against this 60-day banner regulation. And the situation that we've created by accepting these comments is that people who might support the regulation of banners, finally, since we don't regulate them now, would not have weighed in because they were led to believe that the comment period closed on Friday. So yeah, I'm willing to accept the comments, but I think it's kind of a crummy way to solicit public support. And in football, this would be a late hit, and it would be viewed badly, that somebody precipitates public input after the comment period ends, after the normal people responding to our regulations have a chance to weigh in. This late hit comes with, a dozen emails espousing a particular view. So I'm willing to consider them, but I think it's a crummy way to conduct business.
Any other comments?
I have no problem considering them. I do. I share some of Darren's concerns just about procedure, right? And I'd ask specifically of our town attorney if there's any worry to precedent, and you acknowledge that it's up to us. But I want to see as much participation from residents of the town as possible. I think it's wonderful. I think it's good for our government. I think we promoted that in the fact that we've been reviewing this specific ordinance for nearly 2 years, and we've had a public record open for over 2 months, and that it was, publicized and it was out there. To Darren's point, something got people energized in the last handful of days. It's really, to me, one comment repeated 12 times. I think the other thing is, so I have no problem. Put them on the record, because I took some time and I called most, I didn't get all, but I called most of the people that took the time to contact us, just to say thank you for contacting us and to talk to them about it. And I was left actually with an impression that most of them were actually a little more confused about what we can do and can't do now, and what this new ordinance will allow us to do as far as an enforcement standpoint. And when we had the ability to talk one-on-one, I was left with the overwhelming feeling from most all of them that they were actually highly supportive of this ordinance change, because they came to understand that this actually gives us an enforcement mechanism that does not exist today. And it was just a confusion over some of the nuances of limited duration signs versus permanent signs, and how long they can be there and how they get enforced. And so when actually taking the time to call some of them and talk to them on the phone today, most all of them were highly supportive of it. So I don't want to discourage people from speaking up, even if it is outside of the time frame. But I do agree that if we're going to set timelines, I think we need to revisit how we do it to try and encourage as much participation, but to stand firm that, you know, deadlines are there for a reason.
Okay, Bridget, any comments?
I mean, we've extended deadlines multiple times in the past. I think about some of the sign stuff that we've done in the past. I don't think any precedent is set. You know, if people want to comment and they're interested, what does it cost us?
Okay, Dwayne?
You know, I think people are supportive of the mechanism, but not the duration. I mean, I think that's the key issue here, is the, you know, the amount of time that banners are allowed to stay up. I mean, there's been a drug selling, going out of business banner up on Metropolitan for 8 years. It's still there, and they're still going out of business. So, you know, the problem is there's no long or short-term history of enforcement against these banners, and we have no history of enforcement.
Well, currently we can't enforce banners. That's the thing that we're now cleaning up, is we will be able to enforce banners. So I wouldn't judge it on what we did before when we didn't have that option.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway of why I hope we can get to passing this is that it gives us those enforcement mechanisms. To Dwayne's point, I mean, we know they're there, we see them, we talk about them, but our code, you know, the laws of our town didn't give us the type of enforcement mechanisms to take action. And now, and that's why it's taken us a while to do this. There's a lot of nuances. And so it's taken us 2 years to look at this, but that's what we are going to gain from passing this. You know, we talked earlier about a longer time frame, closer to 90 days, and we've pulled it back. Dwayne, at your suggestion, pulled it down towards 60 days. But the biggest thing is, regardless of what the number is, we don't have the mechanism, and this provides us that mechanism.
Yeah, I think it's important. Well, let me just say procedurally, I don't know if our discussion right now is focused on, do we consider these late comments? It seems like everybody's in favor of considering them. And then if we are going to, are we into a discussion of the final consideration of these amendments? So I guess I want to bring to a close the consideration.
I think I'm hearing
considering the comments
is willing to let the comments come in after the deadline. That's what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm in support of allowing.
Okay, Dwayne, you're supportive taking in the comments, correct?
Sure.
Okay, Bridget, I'm hearing that from you as well. Okay,
Yes.
I think we've solved that. So we can speak to the ordinance itself now. If you want to go further, I think one of the greatest things about this ordinance is, which is one of the items that I was more interested in than the banners, was the interest in those billboard for lease signs. I do not understand why a banner that says bananas bothers you more than those bloody billboard signs that can just be put up and stay up forever. And they can be in the right of way. They can be as big as they want. I mean, that is going to go away. And I hope people appreciate that, because they will now be deemed a permanent sign. They cannot be placed in the right of way, and they cannot be over a certain size.
I agree.
Every property in this town, commercial property, has a billboard sign. Almost every one of them. A billboard for lease, or mostly for lease signs.
If you pull up our code of ordinances, you won't find the word banner because they weren't regulated. You won't. The only discussion of limited duration signs that you'll find are placement of them in the public right of way for, realtor open house type signs. So we are finally getting to the point where we are stepping in and regulating limited duration signs. And our advice from the attorney, and I think just plain old fairness, is that we ought to regulate limited duration signs even-handedly, without respect to content, and in a way that is open and transparent to the community. And that's what this regulation does.
So, yeah, I mean, similar, Tracy, I absolutely share your feelings. I mean, the biggest thing about the county sign ordinance that came down to us was these temporary signs. And temporary was more than 60 days, but 1 day less than permanent, which was this unbelievable loophole that allows these types of signs and billboards to exist seemingly forever, so long as a business owner is willing to say, yeah, but it's not permanent. And so the things that this change does that I'm most supportive of is it prohibits the use of temporary signs as defined by the county. It now puts controls onto limited duration signs. You must come in and get a permit from the town. On the sign, you have to tell us where it's located, what it's made from, all the information we need to be able to grant that permit. You have to put the date that the permit is received onto your sign so that we can go around, we will be able to set a calendar, and we will be able to enforce when they were put up and when they should come down. And that way we actually have a mechanism for code enforcement to go out to business owners in an even-handed way and say, your sign is now over the allowable days and it needs to be taken down, or you will face a municipal infraction. It further controls size, location, material, duration. And the biggest thing is we've been at this for 2 years, roughly 2 years. And we've heard some really good comments from our business community as well. There is a need, right, for some of these signs for leasing so that there's still value to some of them in having the ability for people to drive by, see a location, and know that it has a lease available. But that doesn't mean that these signs should exist forever and ever and ever. And so, I mean, for me, I think it makes a big difference that these, our design guidelines, the sector plan, none of those things touch on signs. The only thing that touches on signs within the town that is codified, that is a law, that is even-handed, that every business has to follow and can follow, is this ordinance. And cleaning it up and passing it not only makes it clear to the businesses and property owners what it is that is allowable and what they need to follow, but it also makes it clear how we will enforce it and gives our code enforcement officer the mechanism for her to easily and even-handedly go about getting those signs that have exhausted their time limit and have them be taken down and removed. It also prohibits people from taking a permit, putting up a sign, taking it down for a day and putting it back up, or having one sign that says going out of business in red and one sign that says going out of business in blue and just swapping them out, right? All of these types of games are now minimized through the controls that this bill would put in place.
Bridget, Dwayne, any other comments?
Please make it end, Tracy.
We have been working really hard on this, and because it's trying to find that right balance between the charm of which everybody has stated about our town and being supportive of our businesses and what they need, and just finding that right balance and making enforcement easier for us. And it's not done partiality because we like business A, we don't complain about them, but we complain about business B because we don't like them. Everybody can now be treated fairly. So we're not just picking on, Joe's business because I don't like Joe, so that banner, it's got to go. But, oh, well, I like these people, so, I'm not going to complain about that. So, you know, can come much fairer in how we enforce this now. And we actually now have the mechanism to do it. So it's a long road.
So why can't we go at this in reverse and start with 30 days, 2 30-day periods annually? And if we get pushback, then extend it out, because we can always start small and go bigger, but awfully hard to go in reverse.
Well,
as we witnessed for a 2-year process here.
Dwayne, do you consider John Blick's testimony to be pushback? Because he came before us at a meeting and gave very compelling testimony that he depends on these signs in order to fill his vacancies. And I thought at the next meeting you acknowledged how persuasive his argument was. And
well, John Blick's got signs on the top of his building. He put it back up after he took it down for 30 days. He put it back up, and nobody's enforced that.
Well,
he never took it down.
Nobody's enforced it. Has he received a citation? No, not that anybody knows about anyway, because we never. That's another thing. We never get a code enforcement report. We never get one.
So I think the challenge is that we don't have the mechanism to enforce it right now, because it can be considered a temporary sign, and we're trying to clean that up. That's what this ordinance change would do.
How can it be considered a temporary sign when it's been up there for 15 years? It's not temporary, Connor.
Well,
it's
no,
never been temporary.
Let me clarify. I believe the county treats banners as limited duration signs, and that was what led to the gap in the sign ordinance that passed in 2014, 2015. So these are limited duration signs, and when you go to check the county code, the definition of limited duration signs is more than 30 days, but less than not made of permanent material. So it left a huge gaping hole in our regulation of banners and other limited duration signs. We're trying to close that now. But
so let's close it to 30 days.
Let me finish, Dwayne, because as you take away time from the banners that you're motivated by, you're also taking away time for a business, for a office building to fill its vacancy. And
but wait a minute.
That more so than ever right now.
I thought we talked about allowing them to sign at the street. We've already talked about that and clarified that we're allowing them a street side sign at a very limited size. So why are we using that as a comparison? It's not. We've already covered that.
I don't think we have, Dwayne. That's what this ordinance covers. Is all limited duration signs will be limited to a 60-day period. And so if we shorten to 30 days, the ability of a commercial property owner to fill a vacancy is suddenly he can only put the sign up for 30 days. I think more so than ever right now, with the economy in the dump and with people going out of business, we ought to be helping business owners stay in business. If they feel that they need a banner to advertise grills, or if they feel they need a sign out front that says office space available, let's do it. And let's not quibble over 30 versus 60, because quite honestly, Dwayne, we were all in favor of 90 and we lowered it to 60 as a compromise to gain your support. And now you're asking for another compromise.
Well, I want to correct that. We weren't all in favor of 90. We weren't.
Okay, well, we are at 60. I think that 60 is a good compromise between what are normally longer durations needed by commercial buildings to fill space and shorter durations needed by retail establishments to promote seasonal products.
Is there any other comments before we make a motion? Dwayne, your picture is frozen. You're frozen. You're not smiling, you're scowling too.
I got locked out, maybe. I don't know.
Well, we can hear you. That's a good news. I don't know what that means. I'm not technically enough savvy enough to know. Now we've lost Dwayne completely. We need to bring Dwayne
Holly's
back.
still here.
Is
I can
Dwayne
hear
still
you.
on?
Can you hear me?
He's there.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Your video is gone though.
Do you all remember Old House Journal's remodeling? Do you remember that whole idea? They have a page where they do like a bad construction just to show people what bad is and what good is. Maybe, you know what, I felt that when I was reading all about the ordinances, and maybe it's just me, I need a visual. People kind of need a picture of what you're talking about.
That probably would be helpful.
And like good sign, bad sign, maybe Carrie Ann could be helpful.
We've actually already had the hearing on the sign ordinance. We have introduced it, we've had the hearing, and at this time, we're not taking any more public comment on it.
All
Other
right.
we've decided to take that had been emailed in earlier. And so we're at a point now of voting. I really would like to get Dwayne back in here on the picture.
Can I make one recommendation just from a
Dwayne sitting probably right next to him.
or from a technical standpoint, because of bandwidth, Pete, if you're willing to turn off your camera, it might release bandwidth within your home ISP that will allow Dwayne's camera to come back on.
I can't get back on.
We do not have you, Dwayne. Oops, we
All right.
got Jack.
Thanks, Pete. All right, now give Dwayne a second to see if he can start his, or Matt, if you can start his video for him.
I mean, he should be there. It's not showing that he's not.
I don't. Oh, here it is. No, his video is off though.
I can't override his video. Dwayne, if you can hear us, kind of hover over towards the bottom and hit your stop video symbol and see if it pops back up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it a couple of times, but it just won't release. It won't start the video.
Is it possible to go over to Pete's laptop and use his?
Yeah.
We were doing so well.
I'm back.
Hey.
Where is he? Is he there?
He's under Pete's name. Yep, he's up.
Oh, okay. I don't see him, but I'm on a smaller screen. But as long as people can see him, that's good. Okay. All right. Well, I think if we have no more further discussion on this amongst the council, can we have a motion?
Bridget, I was trying to see if you wanted to take the honor.
I can't hear anything. What?
Oh, I figured you wanted to get it done so fast that ceremonially you would jump right in and take the motion.
Oh, I will second.
I move that we adopt, hold on, let me get the number here. Matt, you want to tee me up with the
Sure, it's ordinance number O-01-2020, an ordinance to amend and revise our commercial sign regulations.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, all right. To do it all in one sentence, I move that we adopt ordinance number O-01-2020, an ordinance of the Mayor and Town Council amending Chapter 6, Article 1, Signs and Solicitors for the town's sign ordinance.
Is there a second? Okay, I got a wave. I didn't verbally hear her, but I did get a wave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that was Bridget. Dwayne, I can't hear you and I can't see you. All those opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll move down to number 2, the ordinance regarding the fiscal year budget. I'm sorry, this is the public hearing on the budget, excuse me. This is the opportunity people who have questions regarding our budget. We will not be voting on it tonight. We will vote to hold the hearing open to a certain date, but otherwise we're just here to hear comments. Matt, do you want to say anything?
Sure. So this is introduction to budget ordinance number O-02-2020 for fiscal year 2020-2021. Clearly, when we finished this at the end of February, things were different, and they are now. I mean, I can run over a few highlights for you that we had proposed, and we're going to hold the line on things, but we proposed a budget revenue. We had a projected budget revenue of 4.9% for FY21. We had proposed a total operating increase of 5%. Within that, there was a merit and COLA recommended. We are no longer going to initiate those. We're going to hold the line. But within the budget, we are still asking for additional hours to bring our police enforcement to 27 hours a week. Currently, it's 24. We are also looking to increase the hours of our community communications specialist position from 20 to 24 hours a week. Within that, you'll notice that there's some differences with the benefits. The reason why former town manager Daley left, he was not on our healthcare program, so there's a slight increase there with the anticipation of a new hire in there, and some increases in the costs. Otherwise, the other major difference in the budget is you'll notice the economic development has increased from last year. We categorize that into 3 different components to include community grants, marketing campaigns and promotions, and community art. What we tried to do was spend economic development equivalent to what we bring in on our business personal property tax. So essentially the businesses would be funding the community and economic development programs. And one last thing I want to touch on, professional services increased as well. Most of that was for anticipation for potential legal fees again. We also moved 2 services in there. We moved our our building inspector into professional services, and we also moved our website hosting and maintenance through Actualize Studio into professional services. So you'll notice an increase from about 95,000 to about 112. The other major thing is the capital improvements plan. We are looking to reorganize a number of the categories and to transfer funding to move funding more into taking care of bridges and a number of other CIP programs that we have not done in the last few years. So more than anything, I think we're kind of looking for direction and to answer any questions that the public might have. Again, what we presented 4 weeks ago is not where we're at now. We understand that our plan is to pretty much hold the line where we're at right now with the current fiscal year budget. And please let me know if you have any questions or comments.
Council, any questions before we open it up to the public?
I have 2 comments really. One is having worked with her very closely over the last several weeks with COVID and working on things for the business district, and foreseeing that could be going on for some time, I really deeply advocate that we continue with the plan to increase the hours for the marketing specialist, Carrie Ann Zent's position. It's a modest increase, but I have found that every hour that she spends in service to the town has is producing results. It is supporting our businesses. It's certainly picking up duties that would otherwise fall on other staff members. So I do hope that we continue with that. And then the only other one would be in a prioritization of CIP, I would like to make a recommendation or an ask that we prioritize the resurfacing of the walking track at St. Paul Park. It was already deteriorating. We had already talked about it. The plan was already to go back and resurface it. However, given the current state of emergency, the use of it has increased exponentially, which is wonderful. There's more little kids out there learning to ride their bikes on it. There's actually a large amount of senior citizens from in and around our town that are using it because it's a fairly flat, mildly inclined walkway, so that they can go out and walk in a protected environment. And so given that there's just cars on the road and maybe we can make some strategic decisions in other parts of the CIP, I just ask that we prioritize the resurfacing of St. Paul Park.
Okay, we were looking to widen it to, I think, 5
Right.
feet?
5
Right.
feet, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And
All the
I'm highly supportive of that.
Okay. Any other comments from the council? Bridget? No. Connor? I mean, Darren?
No.
Dwayne?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll open it up to the public. You can let Matt know if you want to speak to the budget. I see John clapping.
No, waving.
No? Oh, waving. You have something to say?
I have, I guess, two questions. I appreciate clarification. On first page related to revenue, property taxes are projected to go from 763,000 to around 792,000, while the income taxes are expected to drop from around 784,000 to 668,000. I think I know the answer, but maybe Matt can clarify. That's because property taxes for the coming year are locked in because it's not our year in the triennial assessments, and income tax, though we already know based on capital gains and so forth that we're going to be taking a hit.
So there's two things. We are in the current 2020 assessment, so this is the new assessment, and it's also the first full year of the new annexation. We tried to bring the numbers up to be more comparable on a 5-year plan. So we went back and looked at income revenues over the last 5 years to kind of get a better idea what was coming in. So we went there. Income, we decided, again, when we did this 6 weeks ago, we decided to increase it $50,000 based on what we were getting in return the last 5 years. The current situation is not going to affect the FY21 budget to that much. It's going to affect FY22. That's where the big hit's going to be. So the revenues, could probably be there. It's just we need to look out for the future and kind of hold the line on everything.
So your sense, I'm hearing you say, is that capital gains, because a significant portion of our residents' income is capital gains, that's not going to be in FY21.
And most of it's going to be in FY22.
Okay. And then the other question, which is a simple one, can you or someone else from the council help distinguish on infrastructure in terms of expenditures, distinguish landscaping vegetation management versus landscaping street trees maintenance? Because obviously there were a shift in those line items.
We changed those. We wanted to separate out street tree maintenance and plantings as a separate category. A couple reasons. One, it allows us to submit that for the Tree City. It's a specific budget, what we're spending on it. And then we wanted to separate that out from maintenance for the park. If I didn't freeze on you guys, did I?
No.
Okay. I can still hear you.
So we wanted to we wanted to separate the two out. So we wanted park maintenance, vegetation management. It could be anything from spraying the trees to wood chips and stuff like that to be a separate category than pruning, removing, and planting trees in the public right of way.
Okay, so it's not really a different focus as much as just sort of distinguishing the line items and clarifying.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anyone else in the audience that has a question about the budget?
Tracy, you can't see him. Pete has his hand raised.
Okay, yeah, I can't
sorry,
see
he's
him.
probably on page 2 of your screen.
Okay, I want to get to page 2.
Swipe.
Okay, I just did. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Crimmins. Thank you, Mayor Furman. I just want to, I know I mentioned it before, but just want to reiterate how much trouble we're going to be in financially. And I agree with the town manager, but we need to be saving now. I'm telling you, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, and we need to not spend money on things that aren't essential. We need to be careful, because it's going to be a different story 6 months from now, if not sooner than that. Many of us on this call may not have their jobs. And many of us on this call will at least know someone who no longer has their job. So we're going to be in a lot of trouble, and we need to be very, very careful on how money is spent over the next year. So that's all. And I agree with all the proposals. I think we need some of those things, but if they're not essential, we need to be careful in how we spend the town budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Campbell?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Furman. I just need a little clarification from the town manager about, particularly on salaries and wages. This is page 2 of the proposed budget, and I see that they're listed in total as more than $500,000. Where does this no COLA come in, Matt? And in terms of the salaries and wages, it's at least a 4% increase over the previous budget. And
So
I'm wondering well, let me just finish. Where are we drawing the line on this, on these salary increases?
So we had proposed a 1.6 COLA in connection with the CPI, and then a 2.4% merit. We are no longer going to move forward with either one of those. So salaries will stay where they're at.
So in other words, the salary total will be close to what, 460,000 or 480,000?
I'd have to go back and run the numbers. Things change, but yeah, it's not going to be what's projected. Again, this was done 6 weeks ago. I was hesitant to make any revisions on the budget before the public hearing. What is present right now is not going to be what's approved, and what's not going to happen over the next year. So everything's going to be lower. The salaries are going to be lower. The spending's going to be lower. I couldn't make revisions until we had a public hearing, and I got feedback from the mayor and council on how they would want us to proceed.
So why
Mayor
not
Furman,
just postpone the public hearing, revise the budget, and then present a document?
Sorry, Matt, I can't hear you.
I'm not hearing Mr. Campbell.
Oh,
I think he's asking if we didn't postpone the hearing because we are on a schedule in which we have to have this approved.
We're required by state law.
Let me just put it in my words. I find it very odd to be presented with a budget that is not going to be the budget that's going to be guiding the town's expenditures in the year or years ahead. So it's kind of like an aimless exercise here.
Well, yeah. What we can't do is we're not going to spend the numbers that we are presented because we can't. We know that going forward. The problem is we're running into a deadline. We're required by state law to present the property tax rates. We have to do that by the next meeting. I think May 14th or May 15th is the deadline. It's incredibly difficult to revise an entire budget based on complete uncertainty.
Well, it just seems odd to be discussing a budget that is in which the numbers are ephemeral, if not even, they're kind of fantasized in some respects. What is what are the increases that town homeowners in town are going to be facing because of this budget?
There's no property tax increase. We're at the constant yield rate. There will be no property tax increase for any of our property tax rates for either personal, business, or the utilities.
And Matt, in this proposed budget that's going to be revised, where would you identify areas that are most likely to be trimmable? Where could some further cuts be taken? You know the budget apparently better than anyone. Where
Clearly,
would you
like I mentioned,
identify areas in which expenses could be trimmed and cut?
clearly, as we mentioned, we're holding the line on salaries. We're not doing any increases. There is money in the budget for a position to replace my old position. We are holding off on that at the moment as well. We're not going to move forward with that. Again, there's other areas. We have money budgeted for festivals and events that may or may not happen. So that's savings there. What's budgeted doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to spend that money. It's a projection. So what we're going to do is evaluate everything line by line and kind of see where we're at.
Okay, I'm scrolling through the budget now and I just don't see those areas that you've referred to. And the proposal is to add a town staff member to fill the job that you used to have. Is that what I'm hearing?
So that's currently in the budget. We are going to hold off on advertising the position at this time, but it is in the current budget.
You mean the budget that's before the town right now?
Correct, FY21.
The proposed budget. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I think holding off on that altogether would probably be a very good idea in terms of fiscal prudence in the time of coronavirus. I think it would make a lot of sense just not to even have that position in the budget, and then revisit it when clarity returns, if clarity does return in terms of the fiscal condition of the state and the town.
Any other comments?
I do, Mayor Furman. I'm glad to see that there is a reference to the what the town is paying the town attorney. I also believe that the budget, as I have mentioned in years past, should have a more detailed breakdown about the salaries paid to the top 5 or so top paid town employees. I think that's it's an issue we've talked about in the past, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up now.
Of course. Thank you. Anything else? Is anybody else wishing to speak to the budget? I'm not seeing anything, so, okay. All right, well, definitely, Matt, this is something Matt and I have talked about, and that is not filling that position. I think it's better to have it in the budget than not have it in the budget in case there is a need, but at the moment there is not, so we will not be doing a hiring for now. So that's, and then of course, we don't know whether we'll have any of our festivals this year. That is still to be determined. It'll be as we go through phases, if that's what there's going to be introduced, I think it'll be a while before people are going to want to be in crowds. So I think our whole summer is going to be different. So, Council, do you have any other thoughts, questions?
We received a comment from Mr. Campbell in the chat.
Which said?
If the position is in the budget, the temptation is stronger to fill it.
I don't agree with that.
Well, I think it is. I think it makes a lot of sense if we don't, if it's not there, then the position is sure not to be filled. If it is in the budget, then the temptation is to fill it. I think it's pretty obvious.
Well, that's your opinion, Joe, but it's not mine. But thank you.
Of course, it's my opinion.
I know. I'm saying that's your.
I mean, I will certainly say that, you know, I'm not, you know, it's not my position to fill that now. You know, I think that, Matt, your plans for tightening the belt, so to speak, are the proper approach. Deferring hiring of the assistant to the town manager position, clearly travel or conferences that like MML that we would otherwise perhaps be partaking in can be deferred. Other CIP projects that are not essential, again, if there's deferred maintenance or other deferments that can be made to push that out, I think are the prudent ones. I did advocate and I continue to advocate. I hope that the resurfacing of the walking path at St. Paul Park continues to be considered and move forward, because now more than ever, we do need it. It's deteriorating to the point of creating a safety issue. And it can be improved for everybody that's using it. But I mean, I agree. I'm not desiring to hire that next person now. I think you're taking the right approach of tightening the belt.
Okay. Anyone else? Darren, Bridget, Dwayne, we good?
I have nothing to add. I think it was a very challenging prospect putting together the budget, and it's going to be a very, very challenging prospect managing it as we go forward in uncertainty. So I appreciate all the effort from you guys.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to thank Susan and Matt and everybody else who participated in pulling it together. It's a huge effort.
I also want to say budget is pretty consistent. I mean, I took budgeting years ago, but it was by far my worst class, but fascinating, really interesting. And I think the idea that you have to deal with a lot of unanswered questions is sort of inherent in that process. So God bless you.
Great, thank you. Okay, we need a motion for the budget to, and then holding the, let's see, what date would that be?
It would be Friday, May 8th, 4 p.m.,
Okay.
which is the close of business.
Okay. If somebody can make a motion, please, to hold it.
I'll make a motion to leave the public record open for the budget until the end of the day on May 8th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, number 3. Oops.
Is it ready?
Yeah, my it's plugged in, but it says my battery is not working, so I may have to come in and squeeze in with you, Matt.
6 feet.
Yep. Ordinance number O-03-2020 is an ordinance to amend our current absentee ballot regulations. Specifically, we were advised by Delegate Carr that there was some regulation passed back in the 2018 legislative session, and we needed to remove the oath requirement within our town code that states that a reason needs to be made for an absentee ballot. So this ordinance will allow us to remove that oath and be in compliance with state law. This is an introduction only, with the anticipation of passing it at our May 11th meeting for our 2020 town municipal election.
Okay, so this is basically cleaning it up.
Correct.
Right.
And I believe the state supersedes us, so what we currently have is not even relevant to.
Yeah, our oath
Is that
statement.
correct?
Our oath statement requires someone to state that a reason to get an absentee ballot, which violates state law. So we need to remove that from our town code.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion, or is there any questions from the council regarding this ordinance?
My only question, and I do notice that the delegate car is here, but my only question is just out of my own pure interest of understanding it. Our oath was not only giving a reason, but it also stated that you were attesting under penalty of perjury that you met the qualifications to vote. Does that, I mean, I'm seeing it struck out, but are we not, is that not a requirement? Is that also something that the state is stating cannot be done?
You're asking Alcar?
Well, I'm asking Matt, and we'll start there, but knowing that if he needs a pinch hitter, we could have one.
So my understanding was that it was specifically asking for a reason, not necessarily stating that it wasn't necessarily the oath. It was just asking for a reason, you know, I'm going to be out of town or I'm unable to vote that day. That was my understanding of the state law, but if Delegate Carr is available.
You don't need a reason to ask for an absentee.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. If you just don't want to come into town hall, but you want to vote, great. But now that we may approve this in May, and I presume then we're looking to enforce this with the June 1st election, kind of really has a how and what people get as far as absentee matters a lot more than perhaps in a normal circumstance. Right? I don't care for a reason at all. You're afraid of bees. I don't care. But does it matter that if we keep the rest of it, which is simply that you are attesting to meeting the qualifications to voting?
So this is just the introduction to the bill, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
We're going to have plenty of time to figure out how much of it needs to happen.
The council have any other questions? Open it up to the audience. Any questions on this ordinance? So, not that anybody's going to have any, but okay, I don't see hands or anything. So, can we get a motion to introduce and to hold open the record? Or set a hearing date. I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance O-03-2020 and to set a public hearing for Monday, May 11th at 7 p.m.
Okay. Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
In favor.
Thank you. All right. We'll go on to resolution number 4.
Okay. Resolution number R-04-2020 is a resolution of the Kensington Town Council confirming appointments made by the mayor to the Development Review Board. There are 2 positions that are being reappointed that consist of, is it Martha Deal and?
You guys didn't print out papers.
And TJ.
Oh, TJ Monahan.
And Mike Hanahan.
Mike Hanahan. Right. Any questions, council, about the resolution? Anyone from the audience have any questions about the resolution? Okay, can I get a motion?
I move that we approve resolution number R-04-2020, resolution of the Kensington Town Council confirming appointments made by the mayor to the Development Review Board.
Okay, is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that a, Darren, was that an aye?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, number 5.
Okay, resolution number R-05-2020 is a resolution of the mayor and town council authorizing the town manager to install an additional speed hump on the 3700 block of Farragut Avenue. This is the formal traffic order for what council member Bartram discussed within the traffic committee.
Okay, council, you have any additional thoughts on this? Any response from the audience? Any questions? Comments? Okay, could I get a motion?
I will make a motion to approve resolution number R-05-2020.
Is there a second? Did I hear?
Bridget. Yeah, Bridget.
Bridget made a second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And number 6?
Resolution number R-06-2020 is a resolution of the mayor and town council authorizing the town manager to change the current one-way traffic restriction along Decatur Avenue to two-way traffic. This is for the 3500 and 3600 block, Decatur Avenue.
Okay. Council, any further questions, comments? Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, can I get a,
Yep, I move that we adopt resolution number R-06-2020, a resolution authorizing the town manager to change the existing one-way traffic restriction along the 35 and 3600 block of Decatur Avenue to two-way traffic.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I think our first Zoom town council meeting went fairly well. Just had a couple little glitches, but not too. I believe the cable station will stream this. Is that correct?
So
Matt?
we're gonna send it to them to put on the YouTube channel for them.
Okay.
So we're recording now. We'll send it over to MMC and they'll put it up on the YouTube channel.
Okay, great. I think we'll hit that $1 million mark. So viewers, so we can get commercials and make some money for our budget next year. Okay, well, I have 7% left on my battery here because my charger's not working. So I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
There's a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who signed in tonight. Thank you so much. And we'll see
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.